Do you hear that, Leo?
Hear what? What am I hearing?
That's the sound of another bench stash mock draft.
Oh, shit. Bench stash in this mock draft.
All right, guys, so we are back with another episode of It's Mock Draft Season. I am Derek.
I am Leo, a.k.a. Leo Calisi. Gonna leave it at the one nickname this time. It's the best nickname. Don't need any other nicknames. That's the one.
Yeah, the only reason why you cut it off at one is because this mock starts in about 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and we still have some news to run through.
Oh, boy. All right, let's hear your news.
So, yeah,
let's hear it.
We are going to run a PPR mock draft today for you guys. Last week, we went ahead and tackled the robust running back theory, so today we're going to shift to a PPR mock draft. So, what are your general thoughts on PPR, Mr. Khaleesi?
PPR, it values wide receivers a bit more and pass-catching running backs. Those third-down scat backs that are kind of useless in standard scoring now have some value in PPR. And it also gives a little bit of value to those possession receivers that don't score very many touchdowns or get much in yardage, but they catch it a ton. So it helps those guys. It takes those fringe players that are kind of useless and or boomer bust in standard and gives them value, is kind of what PPR really does.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that as we draft. But there are a few news and notes to cover before we jump into this thing. Namely, Ladarius Green. Ooh, yeah. The news broke last week that he might retire due to concussion symptoms. And that kind of came out of left field because before, all we had been hearing is that he was suffering from ankle problems. So, yeah, not looking good for Ladarius Green. And I know you're a big LG guy.
I was a big
how do you feel about this
Ladarius
news?
Green truther. It's not great news. The retiring part, from what I understand, is mostly conjecture. It's people being like, well, he's having these headaches, therefore he might be forced to retire. I haven't actually heard any, one that actually has any power say that. But the headaches are a concern for sure. Not a good sign that he's had nonstop headaches for the past however long it's been, months.
Yeah, it's been a weird situation because at first it was the ankle, and then news reports came out that he was suffering from concussion symptoms and that he was going to be out for the year or possibly retire. And then Mike Tomlin has kind of tried to reel it back in, saying, oh, no, Ladarius is on the PUP strictly for his ankle. So we're hearing a bunch of different reports, but that kind of sounds like a desperation play from Tomlin.
A little bit.
Like maybe he's been misleaded by Green. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think we stay away from Ladarius Green at this point.
Yeah, you kind of got to move him way down your draft board. Probably just don't even draft him unless it's like a super deep bench and you're just throwing him on at the end of the draft as a flyer. Then I guess there's some value there, but it's just too risky right now to take the plunge.
We'll talk about some other news and notes probably throughout this mock, but we're about to jump in here. There's 6 seconds. You have the first overall pick, so
I do.
I'll let you take it away.
This is a real tough one, except that it's not.
No.
Even in standard, Antonio Brown is it was not crazy to take him number 1 overall, but in PPR, he is he's your man. He's your number 1 overall, uncontested. So I'm going to lock him in real easy.
You're not going to let the suspense build?
There's no...
bleed the clock down to 1 second and then choose Antonio?
I will not. No, I won't do that. That would have been a real troll move. Or just do it and then select Zeke or Johnny Football or someone like that.
Yeah, so this is a full point per reception, so not half point.
The 1 full point.
We'll probably see a run on wide receivers in the first round. That's how it normally works. So we have Odell going second, followed probably by Julio.
Probably Julio. It'd be a real shocker if it was not Julio. I like Odell over Julio, though. I think there's some merit to that Odell could reach new heights he has not reached before. Now that, David Johnson going number third.
I was actually going to say, in a PPR, I wouldn't be surprised if DJ went third overall.
I get how a DJ truther could do that, but that's insane. That's terrible.
That's terrible, man.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
It's really bad.
We got Charles Barkley on the pot. Now this D-Rose.
There goes Julio, the value pick. What I was saying is I could see Odell getting even more volume and that offense being even more pass-heavy. Now that old man Coughlin's gone, I could see it opening up a little bit. So I kind of like Odell over Julio. Kind of like that
What
play a
about
little bit.
what about Sterling Shepard? Are you worried that he's going to come in, the Shep, and just start stealing touches?
I think that it helps. I think it means that if Sterling Shepard is anything, it means that the defenses can't just entirely key in on Odell. They'll have to respect the number 2 guy a little bit.
All right, here. So let's getting close to my pick. We have Des Bryant on the board. We have one AR 50. Nope, never mind. He just got taken. And Adrian Peterson was snatched up.
Sure.
So that leaves me with basically 4 names that I could pull from. We have Desi Bryant, B. Marshall,
B.
the
Marshall.
greatest wide receiver in the league. Keenan Allen, PPR machine,
Sure.
and Jordy Shorty, who just got activated from the PUP. So I am going to select. I'm going to wait. I'm going to bleed the clock a little bit here.
Oh, you're going to
13,
bleed
12.
it? You're going to auto-draft Jimmy Graham again because you bleed it for too long?
It's probably going to happen. But I will select Des Bryant.
Ooh,
I think
damn.
he is probably a top 5 wide receiver this year. A lot of people are staying away from Dez because they're worried about Tony Romo. That, okay, if Romo goes down, then Dez is pretty much irrelevant. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think he fits into that kind of elite wide receiver tier. And you've talked about this before. The Romo hate is a little bit of recency bias. It's not like he is always injured. He was hurt a lot last season, but before that, he has basically been a full season participant in most of the other seasons that he's played. So
Yeah,
I will select Dez.
for sure recency bias. Romo, you can't assume he's going to get hurt again just because he got hurt last year. And a healthy Romo means Dez getting healthy targets.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping that a Brandon Marshall would have made it back to me,
He did not.
but he did not. He was selected there, the first pick of the second round. But I still have a couple of really, really nice names sitting on my list here. We still have Keenan Allen, who is a target hog. We have Jordy Nelson and Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. There's a lot of wide receivers that I could take here. In the running back field, we still have Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles would be a solid PPR running back, and he was also just activated off the PUP. So JC has been resurrected. So it's a little bit of a difficult decision here for me. Do I want to just start wide receiver? Oh, there goes Gronk.
Oh.
Okay.
There goes your Gronk
So-
pick.
Yeah, whew, stolen right from underneath me. So I think I'm going to go ahead and play the wide receiver, and take Keenan Allen.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to go wide receiver heavy in this PPR, just because before he got hurt last year, Keenan Allen was a target monster. So with a healthy offensive line, Phillip Rivers having a little bit more time to operate, I think he is going to have a monster year. Game script should help too, because San Diego is not a good team. They're going to be trailing. They are going to be throwing the ball a lot. We saw them get torn apart by Tennessee in the early part of their preseason game. Not that that means a lot, but they just didn't look good. DeMarco Murray was gashing the starting defense of San Diego. And if they are trailing, then Phillip Rivers is going to have a field day.
That was my biggest takeaway from the Tennessee running game going ham. It wasn't like, oh my God, DeMarco's back, and oh my God, Derrick Henry's going to steal the job. It was, holy crap, San Diego's run defense might be god-awful this year. It might be really, really bad.
The worst in the league. It could be. They looked terrible. They couldn't
Yeah.
tackle anything. There were holes that you could have run through.
Well, that's
Yeah,
not
that-
saying
that's the
very
problem,
much because
yeah.
I'm an elite athlete, as we all know.
You're a spark monster.
I'm a spark with a K. I don't know what I mean by that. All right, we're coming up on my pick.
We'll just pretend that didn't happen.
Pretend that didn't happen. I'm gonna have to make 2 picks in a row. Alshon is a PPR beast. I have a feeling he'll get taken by this guy right in front of me. But if he can stay healthy, the targets will be plentiful. Same with DT.
In that voice as well.
Yeah, in that voice. Same with Demarius Targaryen. I could see him being very good in PPR. And T.Y. Hilton. All right. So, 4 names that I am eyeing here at the turn. Like I said, Alshon, Demarius, Shady McCoys. And Devonta Freeman, kind of, just because in PPR he is more valuable. He does catch. He caught so many passes last season. I think that's going to regress some. He's not going to catch whatever he caught, 800 balls last season. So it's going to regress some, but I do still like him. But I think I will lock in Alshon.
I like it. All right.
Get a elite tandem there, and between Shady, I'm not taking Demarius. I'm sorry. Between Shady McCoy and Devonta Freeman's,
You're taking McCoy.
Yeah, I'm taking McCoy. Trying to milk.
Don't even pretend. Don't even pretend that you would take Devonta in that situation.
Fine, I'll take McCoy. The guys has been dropped. McCoy as my RB1 at the top of the third round. I like that.
It's a solid start.
As one Kirky Cousins once said.
You like that? Yeah, I'm actually starting to like first overall, which is kind of a weird statement to make. You should always like drafting first overall because you are locked in with Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. But then you don't pick until the 24th pick. So that was always my hesitancy with taking the first overall selection. But doing a bunch of mock drafts, it seems like you're guaranteed Antonio or Julio or Odell, whichever way you want to go, and I think it's all interchangeable, really. I mean, I prefer Antonio personally. Mm-hmm. But then typically you have these wide receivers waiting for you in the second round. Mike Evans, Alshon Jeffrey, and you can still grab an elite running back or a running back that's part of a top tier.
Yeah.
And McCoy or Ingram sometimes will fall to that slot. So drafting from number 1 has been solid, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm warming up
one of the
to
better
it.
spots.
I entered the off season thinking I'd like 6 the most, because I didn't really love the top tier people and I thought the value was there more. But now I kind of like the extremes more. Either like what you said, the first pick, so you get a couple elite wide receivers and like an Ingram or McCoy who slips too far, or like 12 and take like maybe get Lamar and Charles or Dez or someone like that. I kind of like the extreme ends more this year than I have in years past. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And this is going to be an interesting pick for me because we've mentioned before that we're not huge fans of the 0 RB draft strategy.
Not girl.
But we're not against it if the draft falls in a particular way. So I'm assuming Devonta Freeman goes, and he was just selected with the 7th pick of the 3rd round. So I'm going to be in a situation where I have to choose between starting triple wide receiver or trying to grab a running back that is probably at the end of the 3rd tier. And in this case, we have Jarvis Landry, Kelvin Benjamin, Julian Edelman, Golden Tate, Jeremy Maclin, all sitting on the board. And the running back field, Thomas Rawls, Latavius Murray, Matt Forte, Carlos Hyde. Guys that aren't fantastic in PPR.
Yeah.
So I think the value dictates me starting triple wide receiver. And I'm actually going to make a little bit of a reach for Jeremy Maclin.
Ooh, Fat Jerry.
I like Maclin. Fat Jerry Maclin is not an apt nickname for him at all, but anyone who's Jeremy, you will call Fat Jerry.
That's true.
So yes, Fat Jerry Maclin is going to be my pick. I think as a wide receiver 3, he's fantastic. He finished 15th overall in PPR last season, so that puts him just outside of the wide receiver 1 range, and he's my wide receiver 3. So I think with the running backs that were left, it didn't make sense for me to grab a running back there with the wide receivers that I could have selected, and I'll have a choice at one of the running backs on the way back in the 4th round. So we'll see who is there.
Yeah, I'm with you. That group of running backs is like a tier. You know, anyone from that group is kind of the same, and one of them will be there when it gets back to you. So why not take the receiver you like more than the rest? Because I would agree that Maclin is he's getting lumped in with that tier of receivers, but I think he's actually at the end of the tier above him.
Yeah.
At least in PPR, we should say.
Precisely. Yeah, and definitely in PPR. I'm not really a fan of Kelvin this year. He was still on the board. Tate would have been an okay pick, but I still prefer Maclin to Tate. I think it would have been a reach to grab Moncrief there. I know he's been hyped a lot this season because Andrew Luck is back and the Indianapolis offense is about to explode. But I still prefer Maclin. He's not a flashy receiver in Kansas City. Kansas City, the main knock on them is that they're They don't throw the ball downfield. Alex Smith is a very safe quarterback. He's kind of a game manager. Jamal Charles is the main force in that offense. But Macklin put up big numbers last year. He kind of flew under the radar. Surprising when you look at his stats that he finished just outside of the wide receiver 1 range.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back to my pick here. So far, I have Des Bryant, Keenan Allen, Jeremy Macklin. So I started triple wide receiver. There still are, I should say, some interesting wide receivers. But I think at this point, I need to grab a running back, just because there are a few names that kind of in that third tier for me. Actually, one of them is at the top of the third tier for me, and that's who I'm going to take right now, and that is Latavius Murray.
Latavius.
Exactly that. I think a lot of people are going to question that pick and say, well, why would you take Latavius Murray in the 4th round in a PPR? Because they have DeAndre Washington now, who is supposedly going to come in and take all the third down reps, and he'll be the pass-catching back, the kind of yin to Murray's yang. So that is a solid argument, but I don't buy it. I still think that Latavius Murray is going to be the workhorse.
Yeah.
Yes, DeAndre Washington will steal some touches, but JDR came out, Jack Del Rio, and said that they want to give Murray more touches this year than last year, and he was already top 5 in touches last season. So that's a promising statement from JDR. And you have to remember, Oakland, they vastly improved their offensive line. Their defense has improved. Game script should be a lot better for Latavius Murray this year, and I think he's going to put up big numbers. I think he's a great value pick in the 4th round.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's probably the main pass catching back there too, right? Like, who'd be catching passes over him?
DeAndre Washington.
Maybe.
That's it.
But yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. We don't know. So he might also catch a ton of passes, which in PPR definitely puts him in the RB1 conversation. I think he's in the RB1 conversation anyway, but given that he could be the 3 down back, he's RB1 upside in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I think it's insane. Insane in the membrane.
The narrative has gone against Latavius Murray, which I think has kind of helped his value out a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people are hating on him because of his efficiency difficulties last season, but there's a lot more to it than just, okay, he stunk with the amount of volume that he got. That's not quite the case, and we'll talk more about that later. But you're about to pick in the 4th round here at the end. What are your thoughts, sir?
I was hoping Dougie Baldwin would make it back to me, or Eric Decker. Neither of them did. So as I sit here at the turn, I'm not in the situation where it's value dictates a little bit, but it has, it's not. I'm not picking again for 24 picks, so I just got to take the 2 best players I like, who I think might be gone in 2 rounds. And as I sift through the wreckage, I'm warming up to. Oh my God, it's my pick. I'm warming up to DeMarco Murray, despite what I said at the top. He did show some of that vintage DeMarco athleticism, which is nice to see. Dion Lewis is an interesting PPR guy. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on him just yet. Let's look at the wide receivers, see who we got. Jordan Matthews, I don't care about DGB. He's still going to get a ton of volume. I like Sanders a lot this year too. Fitzgerald in PPR is interesting. I'm going to go ahead and lock in a pick of DeMarco DeMurray. It's my RB2. I like it. Now I'm kind of...
Got some decisions
I got
to
some
make.
decisions to make. I think I'm going to... I'm going to take Jordan Matthews here with this pick. I was really deciding between him and Dion Lewis. But Dion Lewis is pretty risky. Who knows really what he's going to be after half a season of being productive. Jordan Matthews is incredibly safe, I think.
Well, haven't you heard that he's the 2nd wide receiver in Philly now? They just went ahead and traded for one Dorial Green Beckham. DGB?
DGB.
Is it?
That's it. That's what I hear his name might be.
I was stumbling over that one. For part of me wanted to say Beckham Green, and I was like, is it Green Beckham or Beckham Green? Just...
we didn't really talk about that at the top yet, but it is a very bad sign that the Titans sold him for basically nothing in his 2nd year. Like that should be a red flag for any DGB truthers out there who think he's gonna be a threat to anyone on the Eagles.
Yeah, basically, it's an indictment to DGB there that they gave up on him before the second season even started. Word is that he came into camp, he wasn't in shape, he wasn't soaking in what the coaches were telling him, so he's a bit of a head case. He's always been this elite athlete, and I think that's what everyone was holding on to. But he reminds me of Cordell Patterson a bit,
Yeah.
who is this freak athlete that just didn't have the tools, didn't have the polish to be an NFL wide receiver, and the Titans just gave up on him. They traded him for a backup lineman.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison. Cordell Patterson or like Percy Harvin, like one of these like gadget, high talent, athletic wide receivers, but they can't run routes or remember the playbook, so it doesn't matter how athletic they are. Yeah, so
All right.
coming up to your pick.
Coming up
who
to
you
my
eyeing?
pick here, I'm just looking at who I have available here. So there are some interesting names in the wide receiver field, the running back field as well. We have some PPR running backs, excuse me, like Gio Bernard would be interesting, but in the fifth, I think it's a bit of a reach, so I'm not going to make that pick. I think again, looking at who's left in the wide receiver or the running back field, the wide receiver field is where I need to grab from. So I'm going to go ahead and look at Larry Fitzgerald, Josh Gordon. That's not going to happen. Alan Hearns, I don't like as much in a PPR. I think he has more standard value because he might get you those touchdowns. Emmanuel Sanders, John Brown, Tyler Lockett, Devontae Parker. Okay. So I'm torn here because there's a lot of names to me that are about equal in terms of tier, both wide receiver and running back. So I can go ahead and get a surefire starter and Matt Jones. Oh,
I'm about to auto pick again.
oh my God.
Oh man.
Okay. Well,
You're-
that's the pick I was going to make anyways. Arian Foster,
was it?
the best fifth round pick you can make. This isn't a disaster or anything. For some reason, I always end up auto drafting a
This
pick.
is your curse.
It's my auto draft pick of
Yep.
the draft, of the mock draft.
You
It's
got it
going to
out of the
happen
way
once
in the
every
fifth
mock
round.
draft. It's not to worry. This is just to test my fortitude, how I can
Yeah.
recover from such a situation. I like to put myself in these, situations where I am facing adversity. So, yeah,
It's
nothing different
surprising
here.
you haven't already rage quit the draft after that, because I'd be gone.
No.
I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe this. It's over.
This is actually a lesson too. How to keep your composure during a draft. I'm just trying to highlight this for you guys.
Sure.
Because oftentimes you'll be sitting there, you have your eye set on a certain player that you want, and then he gets snatched up right before you, and you don't have anyone else to choose from, and you just panic and you go on tilt. So
Sure.
I'm showing you, I'm going to auto draft Arian Foster because why not? That's what I would do. And I'm going to sit and hope that Smokey Brown makes it to me. And if he gets picked right now, I will rage quit officially. And
Yeah,
it'll be over.
I could tell you were building up to this like long soliloquy about why you were going to take John Brown right there, and then you like the sound of your voice a little too much, and now here you are. This guy D is about to snag John Brown. Oh no, you got lucky. Look at that, he bailed you out.
You got Matt Jones. Who? Matt Jones. Yep, it's John Brown for me. Easy pick here. I'm going to go ahead and take him.
That's the kind of that Arian Foster pick is one of those picks that happens in a real draft, and everyone gives you a hard time, and then he ends up staying healthy all year, and you win the league. That's what happens.
Apparently, not that this was planned or anything, but I'm going to go ahead and pretend that, yeah, I meant to pick Arian Foster. Apparently, he has been the clear-cut number one back in Miami camp. Like, he has looked far better than Jay Ajayi. Of course, this could all be coach speak, right? Adam Gase coming out and saying, like, oh, Arian Foster's the man. He's going to lead our offense. But, I mean, if Arian Foster stays healthy, he's not the worst fifth-round pick in the world. Now, John Brown I love in the sixth round, especially in a PPR. I think he is going to be the best wide receiver in that stacked Arizona wide receiving core where you have Fitzy and Michael Floyd. I think John Brown is the wide receiver to own, and we will talk a little bit more about John Brown later. We got some numbers to crunch.
I was really hoping the tile driver would make it back around to me, and here I am,
Nope.
feeling my joy turn to ashes in my mouth. I need to start planning ahead. because I was already sold. I was like, I'm gonna get Tyler Lockett, and I won't have to think about it, even though I'm taking 2 players. I'm gonna stick with what I said earlier. I like Manny Sando. I see Melvin Gordon down there looking at me. I like Melvin Gordon to bounce back this year, and God, after him, there's a big drop off at running back. Wow, it gets ugly. So we'll see. Those are the 2 guys I'm going to line up and assume I'm going to get both of them. And if not, I'll figure it out.
No, you'll panic and just quit. That's essentially what will happen. You'll do exactly what I didn't and just freak out.
Oh, there goes my Ben Roethlisberger. I was totally going to take him in the 6th round.
He was queued up. I already know.
He was queued up.
There's Sandy.
Oh, there goes Sando. There
and
goes
Delaney
Sando.
Walker.
And Delaney Walker. I'm going to take Melvin
pick.
Gordon, but let me look at what else I got here to make up for the Sanders problems that I'm having in my life.
Yeah, the lesson learned. You don't want to let the clock bleed down too much.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I kind of, as I look through guys here, I like to see Crabtree this high on the list. I'm going to take Melvin Gordon now and not make your same mistake. Because Crabtree was a maven in PPR last year. He was quite the PPR pick.
Yeah, he has insane chemistry with Derek Carr too. So,
but I'm not going to take him.
You're not going to take him because I'm going to take him later in the 7th round when he makes it to me.
Maybe I will take him now just because of that. I'm also looking at Marvin Jones.
Oh, I like Jones.
I think I'm probably going to take Marvin Jones.
Yeah, his ADP is steadily rising.
It is. I'm surprised to even see him as like the board recommending him to me in the 7th.
Let's see who will be. Well, you mentioned Crabtree is out there. Sterling Shepard, Kevin White, Devontae Parker. Alan Hearn's not getting any love. He's dropped to the 7th round. I think the general thought pattern there is that Bortles will regress. The Jacksonville offense will be focused on the run. That's why they brought in Chris Ivory, and that they won't be able to sustain the same type of elite wide receiver numbers that they had last year. And if you have to choose, it's going to be Allen Robinson. So Alan Hearns is going to fall off a little bit. Plus, they have a healthy Julius Thomas, Teal Julius. So Alan Hearns is not going to be the pick I'm going to make. I don't even know if he makes it to me anyways. I like Crabtree. Actually, I think Crabtree would be who I select here. I think he is one of the most underrated wide receivers. Because of his time in San Francisco, he's always this pick that you're never really satisfied with. He's always drafted, and nobody ever likes drafting Michael Crabtree because of his time in San Francisco. He had all the potential in the world, and he never quite lived up to it. But he came into Oakland last year and put up a huge year.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 2 year. And still nobody really talks about Michael Crabtree because he's Michael Crabtree. And Oakland has Amari Cooper, who is the more flashy name, who goes in the 2nd round, 3rd round, maybe. So I will take Michael Crabtree if he makes it down to me. We still have about 4 picks before mine. But it's always good to have many names queued up because your player might get snatched. And if you don't have a backup plan, the clock will tick down and you'll end up auto-drafting Arian Foster.
Yep.
That was completely planned. Oh, here we go. Hearns got taken, Brady got taken,
And
Kelsey got
Crab
taken.
makes it to you.
So Crab, who is the top-ranked wide receiver left on Fantasy Football Calculator here. So I'm going to just go ahead and take Michael Crabtree, not because he's the top wide receiver left. I don't generally follow that guideline, but just because I like Michael Crabtree. I think he's a fantastic wide receiver. And if you look at the makeup of my team, he is my wide receiver 5. So if you have Michael Crabtree as your wide receiver 5 in a PPR league, you're going to be okay. But now I have to look up at shoring the running back position up.
Yeah, you're looking real thin with Tay Train and the rotting husk of Arian Foster.
Yeah. Luckily, I only need to start 2 running backs, and I have 2 elite level running backs.
You'll
and
never
Murray
have any
and Foster.
problems. They don't have bye weeks. You'll be fine.
See, I have Chris Ivory, who has kind of flown under the radar. This is a PPR league, so it makes sense that he dropped to the 8th, but he is a de facto starter in Jacksonville
Yeah.
in the 8th round, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go wide receiver heavy because
dig into wide receiver.
Deshaun Jackson is still sitting there in the 8th round, and I have to take him here.
Boom.
Boom. So now I have 6 receivers locked and loaded. We have Des Bryant, Keenan Allen, Jeremy Maclin, John Brown, Michael Crabtree, and Deshaun Jackson. And the thing about the Arian Foster pick is that if you are going to take Arian Foster in the 5th round, it's best that it's in a PPR league, because even if he isn't the 3-down back in Miami, he will definitely be the pass catching back in Miami. So he will see an added boost in PPR numbers.
At least you found a way to justify this pick 3 rounds later.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that it wasn't even an auto draft pick. That was my selection.
Sure.
I didn't have Matt Jones queued up. I wasn't going to draft Matt Jones. I was definitely going to draft Arian Foster.
Sure you were.
But if you compare those names in the 5th round, Matt Jones and Arian Foster, to me, they kind of fall into the same tier.
I'd rather have Matt Jones.
Yeah, you would.
As we approach my pick,
What about Keith Marshall, though?
That's true. Keith Marshall's just going to steal that job. He's like the...
He already stole it.
Isn't he on the 4th string right now?
Yeah. No, the Keith Marshall hype has officially died out.
Yeah,
apparently
it happened for like a week.
He's been getting beaten out
Turns out
with
he's nobody.
consistency. Yeah.
So as it swings back around to me in the 8th round, this is where those fringe players that aren't much in standard start to become valuable in PPR. I'm looking at you, Charles Sims. I'm looking at you, Theo Riddick. Corey Coleman. I like Coleman more and more this year as his ADP plummets into the abyss.
It's because Terrell Pryor is the wide receiver to own in Cleveland.
That's why, because Pryor's the guy. I have 4 receivers, 3 running backs, so I got a pretty balanced team so far. Oh, Charles Sims right. And Corey Coleman. Oh my God, this draft is spiraled out of control. It's over. It's over, man. Theo's still sitting there, but I don't know if I really want him.
Will he rebound from this, guys? How will he rebound?
I can't rebound. It's too late. It's too late now to say sorry. How much time do I have? Oh, God, I only have 20 seconds. All right.
Just sliding in a little Justin Bieber.
Looking at this list, I see Yeldon looking down there. He's going to be the pass catching back in Jacksonville. I've decided he's going to be the pass catcher.
Yeah.
And I like him as a quote-unquote 0 RB guy to get, because if anything ever happens to Ivory, he'll be the guy.
Yep.
And he already has a 3rd down role, so he has some value standalone, and he has a lot of upside given what's in front of him. And now I'm kind of looking. I'm looking around at the board. I see Torrey Smith looking at me. I like it. Stephon Diggs there. I worry a little bit about how conservative that offense is going to be, though. So another running back I'd rather have. Not particularly. Any quarterbacks that fell so far they don't belong here? Nope. I think it's between Torrey and Stephon, and I'm going to take Torrey.
Terrible decision.
I know you love Stephon Diggs. I know he's your boy.
Stephon Diggs is the pick there. Okay, I don't hate Torrey Smith either. That's not really... It's a wash for me, and Diggs went right afterwards. So
Diggs is probably the better PPR pick. Like, he probably has the higher floor, but I can't look away from Smith's ceiling in a Chip Kelly offense as the number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, you're all aboard this 49er train, aren't you?
Am
I? Are you gonna go ahead and pick Bruce Ellington up in the later rounds as well?
Probably not, because I haven't decided if I buy into the Bruce Ellington hype yet. It was just like overnight, suddenly all of fantasy Twitter was in love with Bruce Ellington, and I haven't quite figured out why yet. Do you know the reasons behind Bruce Ellington?
Just that he's looked amazing in camp, apparently, and he's been running with the ones as a slot receiver, and I think everyone is thinking, okay, Chip Kelly he's going to come in. 49ers are terrible, so they'll be passing the ball a lot. It's all about game script. So if they're behind, they'll be throwing the ball. But it's Blaine Gabbert, it's Colin Kaepernick. They're just not a good team. I could get behind Torrey Smith because I think he gives you that potential threat where he could blow up. He's a wide receiver 1 there, and if they're throwing the ball, they're probably looking to get him the ball the most. They're trying to feed him. But Bruce Ellington, I need to kind of stray away from that train of thought for a second so I don't Arian Foster this next pick. So I need to start looking at grabbing a running back here. But who is out there in the QB field? Kirky Cousins.
Oh, God.
Not going to happen. Tevin Coleman? You know what? I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab 0 RB target Tevin Coleman in the 9th. He would go higher in a standard league, but he is not the pass catching back in Atlanta. That is Devontae Freeman. And if DeAndre Washington makes it back to me, I will take him in the 10th because I already have Latavius Murray. So that would pretty much lock up the Oakland backfield, and that's what I'm going to do here. I needed to solidify my RB core anyways. So with DeAndre Washington and Latavius Murray, the backfield's locked up. So potentially I have that RB1 spot filled the entire season. The RB2 spot, Arian Foster slides into as a high upside second running back if he can stay healthy, which is highly unlikely. And then I have Tevin Coleman. So definitely the weak point of the team, but it's not as bad as it seems, actually. And especially when you look at the wide receiving core that I have right now, drafting out of the 10 spot, it's pretty solid. So I'm not hating this team, even though I flubbed up the 5th round. And have just been flubbing up this mock draft episode in general so far.
I kind of like, I don't normally like handcuffing, but I like the Washington pick when you're in this situation of thin at running back. There isn't really anyone on the board that is like super attractive. And so you're like, you know what, I'm just going to protect my RB1 and give myself depth that way.
Yeah.
I don't.
And in a PPR league, he hypothetically is a pass catching back in Oakland. I mean, he looked dynamic in their first preseason game. There's one highlight where he gets this run and he's out in the open field and he basically just jukes the socks off of this Arizona safety. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I remember when
So
people
he
said
has
that
live
Latavius
legs.
was dynamic. People were in love with Latavius. He was the poster
Latavius
child.
is dynamic. What people don't understand about Latavius is that he went up against the 8-man box more than any running back in the league.
Whoa.
I think.
You think?
I think. Yeah. I think that is a statistic that I heard somewhere online.
If you heard it online, then it has to be true.
Yeah, I read it somewhere on Twitter. So
Okay. As
It's
we
definitely
approach my
true.
pick here in the 10th round, I look at the quarterbacks available. Not particularly inspiring, besides my boy Ty God, who I might take basically as my 11th round pick. Who else we got here? CJ Procise is interesting if you believe he can ever get healthy, but he will be the de facto pass catching back there. Wide receiver, I don't know if I really buy the Sammy Coates hype. Like I don't know if he's ever actually been good. I'm gonna just take Tyrod so I can keep talking.
Sammy Coates. Well, he did see like 3 snaps last year, so
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
something.
I don't think I buy the hype. I think I'm gonna lock in. Procise.
all right.
Third down back and an elite prolific offense attached to one Russell Wilson.
The best offense in the NFC West. Would
Yeah.
you say?
Absolutely,
Definitely.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not worried about his training camp hammy that held him back the first couple weeks. It's still early. Let's not overreact just yet. Let's remember what his role is and what his pedigree was coming out of the draft, and just like relax, everyone.
All right. All right. I can buy into Procise in the 11th round. I mean, when you start with 2 wide receivers, these are the type of running backs that you want to take shots on later in the draft anyways.
Right.
So like you said with Yeldon, he's a third down back as it is. He could take over the starting role. Procise could potentially carve out a similar situation for himself in Seattle. I mean, I know Christine Michael is all the rage right now, but I think I like Procise a little bit more, even though our Twitter would say otherwise.
Our Twitter that seems to be run by some third party that only posts memes of Christine Michael. John
And
Brown.
Matt Ryan is still out there. Who? Jerick McKinnon, Devontae Booker. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take Booker because much like CJ Procise, he is kind of in that third down role right now. Word is that he is leagues ahead of Ronnie Hillman and that he has been taking reps with the first team. So Devontae Booker, and I've always been a Devontae Booker fan, even back in his Utah days.
I remember
The
that.
Utes! So Devontae Booker in the 11th round is kind of that high upside. He has a role already, and he could potentially step into the starting position if anything were to happen to C.J. Anderson, or if C.J. Anderson just doesn't live up to the hype again, which wouldn't be that surprising because it just happened last season.
Yeah.
In the 12th round, I'm going to go ahead and take a quarterback that I like a lot for his value, and that is one Matty Ice Ryan. So I'll get my quarterback pick out of the way. I love that he falls to the 12th round. He just gets absolutely no love. And you're talking about huge bounce back potential. He has one of the best wide receivers in the game. You could probably make an argument that he is the best wide receiver in the game if you just look at pure athleticism. And Julio Jones. So he has a target monster. He has secondary receiving help this year in Mohamed Sanu. Last year, they didn't get anything really out of the second wide receiving position. They had Roddy White, the rotting corpse of Roddy White. They had Hankerson, who was supposed to be a thing.
I remember Hankerson, yeah. Wow, that was a thing for a second.
Remember in our league when Hankerson got traded for Jeremy Hill?
Yeah,
that was
actually
a trade that happened.
Yeah. It was
that was
believed
just
he was going to be the future number 2 there, and where is he now?
Yeah. And the only reason why Hankerson was a thing was because he was in the Atlanta offense. And if Julio Jones went down with injury, which he has been known to do, he's got those weak legs, that Hankerson would step up and he would receive the same type of volume, which was a complete fallacy. That never happened, and he was awful. So I think Sanu should definitely help Matt Ryan a little bit.
Yeah.
And they have a solid offensive line, and they have good running backs. So I like the situation that Matt Ryan's in. And you're about to draft in the 12th round. So what are you looking at here?
Goodness, we're coming up on my turn in the draft. I got my quarterback sewn up. I need to start looking at tight end. These are basically my last 2 position players. I need to take a tight end, and then depth at something else.
Hey, Ladarius Green is sitting out there.
Ladarius. Dwayne Allen is interesting. I've been coming around on Martellus Bennett a little bit more and more as the number 2 tight end in that Patriots offense, who could have some standalone value. And if Gronk gets hurt at all, which Gronk has done in the past, then he'll have a ton of value. So just to be different, because I seem to always take Dwayne Allen in these drafts, I'm going to take
Bennett.
I'm going to take Bennett. Just do something a little different, because I do I like the upside there, and I don't think his floor is as low as people believe. I think it is. I think it's fine. I think I actually do prefer Dwayne Allen still, but I like Martellus. All right, now we're looking here. I'm probably going to take one more running back, because my wide receiver core is pretty strong, and the name that jumps off the page to me when I look at this list of running backs is one Chris Johnson.
Oh, Chris Johnson's there in the 13th. That's not bad.
Yeah, 13th round pick for Chris Johnson. I actually just saw this stat on Twitter before we started recording. After Week 10, so once Week 10 had been finished, Chris Johnson was the 2nd leading running back in the league. He was on pace to finish there. And then he gets hurt. David Johnson steps in. Everyone forgets Chris Johnson has ever existed. And that's a bit unfair to him. I don't buy that David Johnson is going to step in and get 100% of the carries, or even a majority of the carries. Chris Johnson will be involved some, and if David Johnson isn't perfect, Chris will keep carving out a bigger and bigger role.
Yeah, David Johnson is being hyped up more than I've seen a running back get hyped up in a long time. So if he falls, it's going to be, it will set the fantasy world on fire if David Johnson doesn't return his first round value. Because even the fantasy experts are saying that David Johnson is a clear-cut number 1 running back in fantasy because of his pass-catching role, because of his elite talent in the running game as well. So it is my pick. That's a perfect transition. David Johnson to my 13th round pick, and I need to draft a tight end. And I'm going to take one Ebron James.
Oh, dang.
Who had an ankle injury, and I think that's scaring people away from Eric Ebron a little bit, so his ADP has kind of dropped. It was late anyways in the 12th round, 11th or 12th round, I believe, but in the 13th round, Eric Ebron, the upside is there. He's basically the 3rd receiving option in Detroit behind Tate and Jones. And it's his 3rd year, and tight ends take a lot longer to develop, and he's always had the talent. People were talking about Ebron last year. It was going to be his year to break out, but I think it's going to happen this year. And now we're kind of in the dregs of the draft here. 14th round. I could go ahead and not draft a defense and a kicker, but I think I'm going to draft this like it's the week before, and there isn't really that time to bolster up your team. I'm going to go ahead and let's go with New England defense. I still like their defensive line. And this late in the draft, I'm looking probably to stream defenses anyways, so it doesn't really matter to me. These last 2 picks are always a wash. I go ahead and just take whoever has the best first week matchup or whoever has the most potential to be a multi-week defensive stream. And I do like New England here. As far as a kicker goes, it doesn't really matter to me, to be honest. You just look for the kickers that are in the better offenses, really, that will have more opportunity to kick extra points and field goals.
Yeah. Exactly. As it approaches my pick.
Excellent.
Egg salad. As it approaches my pick.
Egg salad lent?
Egg salad lent. If I were actually drafting today, I wouldn't be taking a defense or kicker. I would just take more depth, wait till right before week 1 to see if anything is shaken out, and then drop 2 people. But that makes this video kind of useless if you're watching it anywhere near the start of your actual season. So I'll go ahead and take a defense. The vaunted Oakland Raiders defense. Behind one Khalil
most improved defense in the league.
I will not take Josh Brown, who just had domestic violence charges thrown against him. So who knows if he'll even be in the league come the start of the season.
Yeah.
So
and he's a kicker too, so
he's
they're just going to get rid of him.
Yeah, there's going to be who are you even? I didn't know you were on the team to begin with. Dan Bailey. When the Cowboys offense was clicking, Dan Bailey was a top 3 kicker. I don't know exactly which, but he was an elite fantasy kicker. And then Romo gets hurt. He was elite. And then Romo gets hurt. Their offense goes in the pooper, and Bailey has been forgotten. So Bailey's a good if you're looking to target a nice sleeper kicker.
Yeah,
Dan Bailey.
Dan Bailey, there it is.
Dan
Straight
Bailey.
from the horse's mouth.
Boom.
Is he elite like Joe Flacco elite, or is he elite like Antonio Brown elite?
He is elite like Christine Michael elite. Yeah, exactly. Too elite for words.
If that's the case, then I'm taking Dan Bailey in the 10th.
Please
it's gonna happen.
It'll go perfect with your Arian Foster in the 5th pick.
All right. Oh, DGB, Demogorgon Beckon.
Demogorgon Beckon. Sure, why not?
Let's see. I'm just gonna go ahead and I don't want Chris Boswell because even though he plays on the Steelers, they love to go for 2. So I will just go ahead and take Cairo Santos of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Why not?
Because I think they're going to have difficulty scoring touchdowns. They're not going to have a super high-powered offense, which might equate to more field goal attempts. And I believe he had a game last season where he kicked like 7 field goals. And just the best kicking performance of the year was by Santos. So why not in the 15th round? He is an elite fantasy kicker. Santos.
To recycle that. It's true that offense is a good example of one that can move the ball, but isn't high-powered enough to always score once they're on the opponent's side of the field.
Which might change this year with Jamal Charles fully healthy.
That's true. Some of that could have been the lack of Jamal about that base. So let's take a couple minutes, quickly talk about things we do and don't like about our teams.
And we were a bit rushed into the draft, so we can make a couple other points to close out this mock episode. So I will look at my team first, starting off with Des Bryant, 10th pick of the first round, which I think is solid. If you look at the wide receivers that went before him in the first round, obviously Antonio, Odell, Julio, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, and Allen Robinson. So I got Des as the 7th wide receiver. So wide receiver 7, which I think is fantastic value there. Yeah. In a PPR league, I'm looking to draft a wide receiver anyways, unless sitting at the 10th position, Todd Gurley fell to me. I might think about it, even though he's not known as the PPR back. But I think if Todd Gurley's sitting there 10th overall, you have to think about it, no matter what format you're in. Oh, yeah. Sure. So, but Des Bryant, I think he looked absolutely insane in the first preseason game, and I don't like putting too much stock into preseason games, especially the first one. But the concern with Des was, okay, is he fully healthy coming off of last year's injury? And I mean, that was really it. And obviously the Romo concern, which we didn't really see because Romo, I don't know how much he'll play at all in the preseason, but Dak Prescott looked pretty good. So I think the whole thing about, okay, if Romo goes down, that takes away Dez's value. I don't think that's the case. I think Dak Prescott could potentially be a passable quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, which would help Dez Bryant. He wouldn't fall off of a cliff if Tony Romo breaks his collarbone for the 19th time.
Yeah.
So Dez Bryant in the first, then Keenan Allen in the top of the second. And in a PPR format is probably the only time I'm going to take Keenan Allen this high. I talked about him more when I drafted him just because of the offensive line problems that San Diego had last year. Phillip Rivers is back. I think we'll see a better Melvin Gordon this year, which should help a little bit with the offense in general. But mainly, it's going to be volume-based with Keenan Allen. The guy will be a target hog. He is a clear-cut wide receiver 1 in San Diego. Stevie Johnson went down. They don't really have much behind Keenan Allen. They have Travis Benjamin, Dontrell Inman, and Antonio Gates, who I think will be actually the second receiving option in San Diego. So Gates is a great value, but not to go on too much of a tangent. Keenan Allen, he's on a terrible team. I think San Diego's bad. I know a lot of people think they're rebound this year because of all the injuries, but I think they're bad. So Keenan Allen will have positive game script. Jeremy Maclin, I think, is that perfect underrated wide receiver in the third round. I don't want to say too much else about my wide receivers. I think as a group of 6, it is fantastic, especially drafting from the 10th spot. We have Dez, Keenan, Maclin, Smokey Brown, Michael Crabtree, and Deshaun Jackson, all very solid PPR wide receivers. Now, in the running back area, it's a little bit more dicey. I have one clear-cut starter because I'm not even willing to put Arian Foster into the clear-cut starting role yet. I think it's all preseason narrative that he has completely taken over as a lead back in Miami. But in a PPR league, I don't hate him in the 5th. Not that that was planned or anything like that. So Latavius Murray, Arian Foster, I love Latavius Murray. So I mentioned that little tidbit about him facing the 8-man box a lot, and I think that will change. I was reading a stat on Twitter that he was, I think, somewhere in the top 5 in terms of efficiency when the Raiders were in a 3 wide receiver set. And I think that is something that gets overlooked a lot. People look at Latavius Murray and they say, well, he received a ton of volume, the most volume in the league almost. He was out there pretty much every down. They were feeding him the ball, and still he came away with 4 yards per carry. He came away with barely over 1,000 yards, and he only was in the RB1 conversation because of his volume. But let's look at the situation. I think Oakland was coming into a year where people weren't respecting Derek Carr yet. So they stacked the box a lot against Murray, and we saw his numbers dip. But when they were in the 3 wide receiver set, he put up in very good efficiency. So I think that will be the case this year. Tevin Coleman, DeAndre Washington, Devontae Booker, these are those third down backs that have the potential to take the starting job. And then Matt Ryan in the 12th, I think, is a fantastic quarterback pick. And Matt Ryan has been consistently going in the 12th round. That is basically his ADP. So if you want to wait on a quarterback, wait and wait and wait. And you'll have guys like Matt Ryan, even Andy Dalton is a perfect late-round quarterback target because he goes in the 13th. So Matt Ryan in the 12th is fantastic value. I don't want to drone on too much. Sean drone on too much. So I'm going to go ahead and close it off here. I'd give my team a B if I'm grading it. Let's shift over to Leo Calisi. What do you think about your team?
Oh my God, that's the longest anyone's ever talked about anything. All right.
I know. I just kept on going.
Oh
I just love my team, man.
God, so much you gave it a B.
So much I gave it a B. Hey, B solid.
It's yeah.
Although I'm Asian, so a B is basically an F.
That's true. You basically failed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at my team here, Antonio Brown. Not much to say. He's the GOAT, the current
There's
GOAT at
everything
least.
to say.
The current GOAT, Antonio Brown. Alshon, if he can stay healthy, has just crazy amounts of upside. Top 5 receiver upside if he can stay healthy.
GOAT potential.
He has GOAT potential. Yes, he's not currently a GOAT, but he has the potential to become a GOAT. LaShawn McCoy has been a GOAT if he can stay healthy. will be a GOAT again. He still had the GOAT like moves last season. He still looked like a GOAT. He got hurt, and then Carlos was there taking some touches and some touchdowns. But
here we go. DeMarco Murray is coming up too.
But he could be a GOAT again. DeMarco Murray was the GOAT, a GOAT.
I'm just trying to. We need like a GOAT counter in the top corner of this video.
DeMarco Murray was a GOAT for one season, and I think that had more to do with the situation than his own innate GOATness. So I don't think he's going to be a GOAT in Tennessee, but he can be quite good, I think. So as my second running back in the 4th round, that's where I think he's like a fair value. I think any earlier in the 4th round, I wouldn't be thinking about DeMarco Murray. And at the end of the 4th, I like it. And PPR, he will catch some passes. He has shown his ability to catch passes into Dallas. Moving on, Jordan Matthews. People thought he might be a GOAT. He was not a GOAT. But he doesn't need to be a GOAT. He's going to get so many targets. Even if he only catches like half of them, he'll still be a wide receiver too in PPR probably. So
Fair point.
I like it. Melvin Gordon going to bounce back from his terrible year last year. I heard a stat from one Mike Clay, I believe is the one who gave it. I could be wrong. But it was of running backs who have had at least 200 carries in 2 consecutive seasons, and in the first of those 2 seasons, this is highly specific, had 3 or less touchdowns, which is basically Melvin Gordon. The following season...
0.
What? He had 0.
He had 0.
Yeah, he had 0. The following season, those running backs averaged 8 touchdowns. So history would suggest he's going to bounce back in a big way with the touchdowns. 8 is a high number to just assume he's going to get. But 5, 6 is possible. It's possible. He definitely is going to get more than 0. He's going to get more touchdowns. That offensive line, it can't be that bad again. It can't be. It might be, but I hope it isn't. So Melvin Gordon, if he can be anything, is a nice 6th round pick. Marvin Jones could get a lot of targets in that offense. I think it's going to be an even split between him and Tate, a 1A, 1B, not a... My headphone fell out. I can't hear anything you're saying if you're saying anything. Did you say anything? I can't...
No,
okay.
I'm not talking right now at all.
Good. Anyway, Marvin Jones, going to be good. TJ Yeldon, going to catch a lot of passes. 3rd down back, has his own standalone role in PPR and could take over the job. Torrey Smith, the GOAT. Ty God Taylor.
This is a concise analysis of Torrey Smith right now. Torrey Smith, the GOAT. All right, moving on.
Ty Goat Taylor. What is there to say? The rushing gives him a high floor. Sammy is there, forcing him to have a high passing ceiling. In the 10th round, I will take Ty Goat every time. CJ Procise, risky with the injuries, but pass catcher, PPR, GOAT. Moving on. Martellus Bennett. Just being a little bit different than what I normally do with Dwayne Allen. Did Dwayne Allen even get picked? Yeah, they're 15th round. Wow, 15th round for Dwayne Allen.
Yeah.
But could see a lot of targets in that offense, even as the second tight end. You'll see some. We saw some of that with Scott Chandler last season, where he got some targets.
Inspirational reason behind that pick. You'll see some targets, right?
And then,
more than 0.
And he had the opportunity to get more. It's just Scott Chandler was, he's not athletic at all. Martellus Bennett is a better athlete than Scott Chandler. So the opportunity is there. And if it doesn't work out, 12th round, I can just cut him. Chris Johnson, already kind of talked about. Going to steal David Johnson's job. For sure. Was once the GOAT, will be the GOAT again. Oakland D. It doesn't matter. Dan Bailey, GOAT kicker.
So I think the only pick you didn't mention GOAT was the Oakland defense, which is highly offensive to me.
I mean...
because they are the GOAT in terms of defense. I mean, we saw them just dominate the league last year.
We didn't, did we? Did we see that?
I mean, that's exactly what we saw. I mean, they're worthy of a top 8 fantasy pick, and now we lost every one of our subscribers.
All right, it seems like a good place to wrap this up now that we are over the hour mark.
Are we over the hour mark?
We did it. I said GOAT too many times. Now we're over the hour mark.
The last 10 minutes were just you saying GOAT.
Goat.
I should mention that at the beginning of this pod, I think I said misleaded, which has been eating away at me this entire pod because I'm an
Instead of
English
misled.
teacher. Yeah, instead of misled. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, there's no going back. I just have to pretend like this didn't happen.
Now here you
But
are.
it didn't work. I mean, it's early over here in Singapore. Not to make any excuses, but I need a cup of coffee. So I'm gonna gear myself up, get ready for another pod. But I think the next pod, I'm going to bring Joe Flacco level eliteness, and I'm just
Joe
messing this
level
up.
eliteness. That's the quote.
I think I should just log off for the day in terms of trying to record this pod. I'm definitely bringing the team down. I apologize, Leo. You are the GOAT.
Yes, I am. I am a goat, the goat, all goats.
I think I should just let you take over.
I am the goat
I'm
singularity.
just going to fade away into obscurity. Just
Perfect.
melt away.
From
Unless-
current and back to obscurity.
Oh, yeah. So let's go ahead and close this
Close
PPR
it
mock out. My team is elite. Leo's is not. Cut it.
Mine's the goat. Derek's the woat. Moving on. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all those things.
All those tasty things.
All those tasty things. And yeah, we will have more of these to come, revisiting some of the past strategies, and just doing more mocks as we get closer to the season and ADP actually means something.
Yeah, we'll see some more preseason games between now and our next mock, so things could drastically change. There might be an injury. Hopefully not. We don't want to see an injury drastically affect the fantasy landscape this early on into preseason, but
It'll happen,
now
though.
that I've said it, it'll probably happen.
It happens every year, and it hasn't
It
happened
will probably
yet.
happen to David Johnson.
It's gonna happen. Oh man,
And it will just destroy everyone's hopes and dreams.
I wouldn't like that because he's pushing players I do want down the board to me, and if he's gone, then people are going to start taking Lamar Miller instead. I can't have that. I need Lamar Miller
That's
as a late
true.
first-round pick.
That's true. David Johnson went 3rd overall, as a reminder. Head of Julio Jones.
All right, that's a good place to end this.
right.
Thanks for watching, kids.
Yeah, that's it. Just end it. This is... Okay.